Hello, you all. This is a short little talk on type. Very short, very quick, but just an introduction so some of the ideas can get inside your head and move around. This is basically a dateline of how type developed from humanist Venetian down here to old style to transitional to modern to Egyptian and then sans serif, more of a modern style. If you look, there's a little bit of interest at the information at the bottom about each one. But what's important for me is the visuals, to look at these and notice what's actually happening. That the early styles had more of a curvaceous sort of diagonal style to them, and as they moved along, they became a little bit more linear and rigid and square and gridded, and then of ultimately becoming very stripped down for printed matter and more for publication at a much greater scale than the earlier ones, which were, to me, related more to the hand and writing and drawing. So what does that mean to us is that they communicate different things. If you look here, this image, which is a little cut off, I just noticed. I wonder if I can get it to jump up a little. Let me see. Yeah, you go. You got a sans serif style, which is more of the modern, and they went from humanist to transitional to geometric. Humanist being more old style because the angle of things was a little more slanted and felt more human. Serif types means that they have this little serif at the end here, and again, there's old style, transitional, modern, and Egyptian. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. If you read some of these, you can see that what it's saying here, the transitional would be the bridge for the gap between old style and modern serif typefaces. Transitional type has a more vertical axis and sharper serifs than humanist forms. You can kind of extrapolate from that what that means, that it isn't old and it isn't new. It's sort of a nice transition, and which means it might have a little bit of humanity to it, but it's also kind of clean and modern. Now, if you read modern, in contrast, modern serif typefaces developed in the late 18th and early 19th century and were a radical break from the traditional typography of the time, with high contrast of strokes, straight serifs, and a totally vertical axis. So they move straight up and down, and the serifs are hard. They have no little curved edges or softness to them. What that means to us is when we look at the different styles from old style to more modern, we end up with something that feels crisp, clean, and cutting edge. And so this speaks to the personality of these typefaces to communicate a story. So if you look down below, you have black letter and script as examples, and they're significantly different in their feeling. So now if we move just ahead a bit, and we look at what is type saying. This is a gross exaggeration of what type says, but I think it's nice to look at it and say, oh wow, it really does feel, timeless or casual or elegant or bold. And there's many ways to go about this and combine types in more meaningful, subtle ways, but this is kind of a gross introduction to say, okay, I get the drift. If I'm looking for something that feels a little more human and gentle, I might want to look at some of the old style and potentially humanist or Venetian styles. And if I want to go kind of more towards something that's sharp and crisp and talking about the future, I might want to deal with sans serif or look at things even in between that were modern. Say you're dealing with an organization that's very conservative like old style, but you want to help them move forward, you might think of something in this realm around here. So now lastly, type has fundamentally 6 different what they call contrasts to it. Contrasts come as size, weight, structure, form, direction, and color. Obviously, these are self-evident. You can look at them and read them yourself, and you can consider when you're directing somebody towards information that you change these things so that they can find the information you want them to find. The more contrast you create, the greater the difference between the elements, and therefore a person will notice them more. So usually a title might have weight, size, and color attached to it, whereas body text that's inside of an image, this is body text here, would be very simple. It would have the same size, the same weight, the same color. So that's that. And last but not least, you'll see here just some combinations of type with one another. These two are, this is chunk 5 combined with disco, and it's too heavy to be combined with this. This is too light, this is too heavy. They create so much contrast that they sort of break apart. Whereas if you combine chunk 5 with Helvetica Noi Light, it's kind of nice. But then on the same side, as we spoke of contrasts, this is very heavy and thick, If I choose another one that's very thin and light, it might serve as well as a nice contrast between Helvetica Neue Light and Disco. All right, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope these are helpful. Be well. Bye.